Today on Substance Stories, we're going to be talking about drug panics and how to think rationally about drug use. I'm going to talk about drug panics today. So drug panics are a really interesting thing that occur throughout history and are continuing to occur. And essentially they are how the man is tricking you. So I'm going to pop up on the screen right now a famous etching by William Hogarth called Beer Street and Gin Lane. And this comes from the gin panic of the early 18th century. So what happened in the early 18th century is the War of the Spanish Succession. I know a lot of you are mad War of the Spanish Succession fans, but for those of you that aren't massive Spanish Succession War fans, what happened was there was a big war. Essentially it was Prussia, which is Germany sort of, and England against France. And the problem with this was the English government and the English people loved to drink French fortified wine, French brandy. And so the English government obviously didn't like that. They were at war with France. So they were like, let's make our own booze in England. And the gin industry popped up and they made it really easy to make gin. And so gin became dirt cheap. Gin became cheaper than drinking water. And gin bars popped up everywhere. And gin bars, shock horror, let women and men drink in the same bar. And people were just getting rantedly drunk, and people would think, and there was this vibe that, oh, gin is the problem. But what actually was the problem was the Industrial Revolution was going on, and a lot of rural poor people moved to urban centres, and they created a class called the urban poor, and it was incredibly grim to be in this class. It was mass homelessness. There wasn't much work. The death rate of London was actually higher than the birth rate. So more people were dying than were getting born. So the only reason that London was increasing in size was this urbanization process. But instead of blaming societal factors and saying, hey, we need to make life better for the people that live in our kingdom, what they did was say, gin is the problem. And that's where you get this Hogarth etching that shows gin lane being debaucherous and Beer Street being good. And we look at this now and we say, that's ridiculous. Beer and gin are the same drink. It's alcohol. That's the drug at play there. There's nothing special about that. But this was the first modern drug panic, and we've had heaps since. So a drug panic says that, it's part of this concept called the magic drug theory, and the drug panic is that it's not. It picks a class of people, so that would be in this case the urban poor, and it uses mass propaganda. So before the gin panic, there were other drug sort of panics, but not really, because there was no mass propaganda and there was no class. The Ottoman Empire tried to outlaw tobacco for religious reasons and that sort of thing. It didn't quite have the same ring to it. But since then, there's been heaps. There's been the crack epidemic of the 80s. There was the hippie movement of the 60s. There was the ice epidemic of the noughties in Australia. Right? These are things where we had societal problems, and instead of blaming societal issues, which would take a lot of effort to change, we blamed a specific class of persons. In the crack epidemic, we blamed African Americans. In the ice epidemic, we blamed sort of poorer, lower socioeconomic Australians, specifically rural, and we blamed a specific drug. We said, look, if we could just get rid of this drug, there would be no problem. It would be magically fix everything. So we don't need to fix any of the wider societal issues. We just need to remove this drug from society. So this is a concept of the magic drug. And the magic drug is a wonderful way to sidestep society taking actual responsibility for fixing anything. So the ice epidemic is a classic example. During the middle of the ice epidemic, Tony Abbott. So, the really good question is, was there ever an ice epidemic? It's very controversial as to if there ever was any increase in crystal methamphetamine use in Australia over the last 20 years. But let's say there was. In the middle of the ice epidemic, Tony Abbott, who was then the Prime Minister, went on the radio and said that ice makes you impervious to modern weaponry. I think he specifically said tasers, and he said it gives you superhuman strength. And no one said, that's insane. The Prime Minister is saying a drug is giving someone superpowers, because that's this concept. That's the magic drug theory. We were all buying into it. So why I'm talking about it today is because I want us to have that suspiciousness when someone is talking about the evils of a certain drug, not the evils of addiction. And addiction is a societal problem, right? People get addicted because of difficulties in society, difficulties in their psyche, difficulties in their situation. They don't get addicted because there's some sort of magical drug out there. And we're doing it right now. Right now, people are talking about fentanyl. Fentanyl's the big bad wolf. fentanyl isn't good for people. Absolutely not. But it's not the problem. There are societal problems that are resulting in increased opioid use disorder, which is resulting in increased fentanyl use. Fentanyl's dangerous because people are accidentally overdosing from it. But fentanyl is not the big bad wolf. And we've got to be really, really vigilant against these sort of magical drug theories out there. So next time someone's telling you about a one and done drug or that this drug's evil, say, no, this drug is just a chemical. There's nothing to it. It's not good or bad. It's not evil. It's not righteous. It's just a drug. Society is resulting in people seeking more and more dangerous relief from their hardships, and that's what we need to be addressing. I hope this has made you all a bit more curious and a bit more suspicious.